So a couple days ago in Des Moines, Iowa, right? Middle of fucking nowhere. Who cares about Iowa?
I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Trump had a rally.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We didn't fucking watch it. Not gonna lie, I had no idea what was going on. But I did find like a really funny tidbit that came out of it. And it's really just he told his supporters not to vote in the midterms or in the 2024 election until they get all this voter fraud business like sorted out.
What a way to win elections, I must say.
That's what I'm saying.
What a way to encourage voter participation. Just be like, don't vote.
Don't vote. Just don't. Please don't vote at all. Until, like, realistically, I feel like he's literally just holding the Republican Party hostage.
Yeah.
Like, unless you guys do whatever I want, I'm going to get you not elected. Like,
yeah, I wonder if they're going to, like, the Republican Party is going to just bend to his will now.
Facts.
Well, I mean, they already have been, but if they're just going to be like, okay, we'll do whatever you want because we know that you will destroy our voter turnout in the midterms.
Extra do whatever you want.
Extra.
I saw some people say that if we keep the Senate in 2022, like they don't win their midterms and shit and take the Senate back, that's just Trump 2024, almost guaranteed.
Why?
You know what I mean? Because then the Republicans will just cave to whatever this dude wants, at least for the Republican nomination.
Yeah, because that'd be like 2 losses in a row for them.
Exactly. So they literally just have to cave
also,
for him or whoever he endorses.
At that same rally in Iowa, Trump had Chuck Grassley come on stage.
Oh my God.
88-year-old pro tem of the Senate, Chuck Grassley, came on stage. I believe he has an election in 2022. And Chuck Grassley, the guy who said that Trump's actions during the insurrection were like really awful and that Trump like lost the election, Chuck Grassley voted to certify the election, yada, yada. He accepted an endorsement from Donald Trump and said some shit like he's like the best option for president. He's like, I would love to endorse or accept this endorsement from President Trump. Chuck Grassley's like a bag of bones at this point.
Is he going to make it to the midterms?
No. This dude's been around for a long time, though.
Like in the Senate for a long time?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's been in the Senate for a long time.
I've literally never heard about him till now.
Well, it's because he doesn't do anything.
He sits there and be old.
He's just the oldest person of all time. Literally a dinosaur.
Facts.
Yeah.
Bro's going to crumble like Thanos with the snap.
He's just really representing what Iowa wants.
Exactly.
The wants and needs of Iowa.
I really want him to be making decisions that he's never going to live to see the consequences of.
Oh,
for me.
Trust me, he's doing it.
Oh, it's true.
He's doing
so
it.
True.
He's representing not only Iowa, but all of the United States by just damning us for the rest of eternity.
By just voting no on anything good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Naturally.
That's Chuck Grassley. Speaking of people that always want to vote no on everything good.
Okay.
Welcome back to Head in the Office, and let's roll our intro.
What's good?
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Head in the Office. I hope you're excited for this episode. I hope you're having a splendid week, unlike us.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike us two, who are bogged down in homework, consistently struggling, but still making the podcast.
You know that college kid life.
Yeah. Yeah. Just trying to fund our college ventures and also this incredible podcast. Welcome back to Head in the Office. We got a big episode for you today. We're going to talk about the supply chain blockage, some moderates fighting on the side of climate change to perpetuate climate change.
Wow.
We got a political crisis for the Democrats, kind of, but not really.
But same thing that's been going on literally all year.
We got to talk about some of the strikes that are going on across the country. But first, make sure you check out the Patreon, check out the TikTok, check out the YouTube.
First, we got to do a little shilling, shameless plugs for ourselves.
Check out the social medias. Give us a boost. We don't got any reviews to read today, but I want to remind you, go to Apple, leave a review, support the show, 5 stars. We'll read it if you leave it.
Literally say whatever.
Yeah.
Well, not whatever, but you know what I mean.
No, you can say literally anything. Okay. Any words we will repeat.
Ooh,
within
I don't know about that one.
Acceptable boundaries,
exactly.
Of course. All right, let's get right into the news this week. So first up, we got to talk about the supply chain blockage, which we've actually been talking about for a long time, but this issue is so unattractive that it's gotten no media attention until now.
Yeah, until it absolutely has to get attention.
It is right now gripping the testicles of Christmas sales. So people care about it deeply. So last week, Joe Biden announced that the Port of Los Angeles is going to begin to operate 24/7 to alleviate the issues with the supply chain. Just so you all know, for context, the Department of Labor just released a report that explained that the supply chain blockage has caused consumer prices to inflate and a nationwide slowdown in shipping times. Yes. So you know, like the suburban white women are pretty angry that their Amazon
Pretty
orders are going to
upset,
take longer
dude.
than normal.
Gonna take maybe 3 days.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot more pissing in bottles to get these to me.
No more expedited shipping.
Oh,
But yeah,
no.
so these ports are operating 24/7 now. And just for a little bit more context, the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach together handle about 40% of all containers that come into the United States. So almost half.
Yeah.
So
Most of them.
Right.
Pretty much.
a plurality.
And now they're operating 24/7.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Rip to
That's-
those workers.
How are they doing it? Because they're not hiring more people. And
No.
if they are, like, what are they hiring them at? Are they just making these people work doubles, like, every day?
I mean, bros are working like the 95-hour work week.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so kind of off that point, the supply chain blockage is caused by a couple of things. First, the pandemic disrupted business worldwide. That's unsurprising. It's caused slowdowns in just about every single industry.
Yeah.
We've known this for a long time. But second, the U.S. right now has a massive labor shortage, and so do other parts of the world, which means that those workers that are currently working in the ports are going to be overworked and even more.
Naturally.
More than they already have been.
Naturally.
And lastly, a lot of the goods that are sold in the United States are not produced here, which, you know, if you know anything about the last, 70 years of U.S. history,
Capital flight.
then you know that a lot of people's online orders come from other countries, which is why they're taking so long to get here.
Yeah.
Which is why they may take so long to get here normally, but why it's going to be even longer now.
Extra long.
Yeah. So in combination with those three things, we have now a massive supply chain blockage, which is being blamed completely on Joe Biden.
Of course
Which
it
is honestly, we talk about this a lot, but it's just the result of capitalism.
It is. It's the result of capitalism.
It's just consumerism.
And people thinking that the president has a lot of power.
Right.
When they really don't have that much power.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
annoying.
So
Like
basically,
gas prices.
these workers are going to just be struggling. As
More than they
Biden's
already
trying
are,
to.
as like a port worker, as a manual laborer.
Yeah.
Like all this physical labor, dude. Like your body can't sustain that.
Yeah, exactly. And like these supply chain slowdowns is not only happening in the United States, it's happening in other countries as well. But the thing is that in the United States, we have basically no worker protections whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the president can just be like, yep, we're working 24/7 now. Like imagine those workers that are just at the port already working 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And their boss just tells them like, yeah, the president says you're working forever now.
Crazy.
Every single day,
President
every hour.
says you're working forever, but you can't quit because president said no unemployment.
True.
President said no COBRA benefits.
Yeah, sorry. You're just literally
That's
fucked.
a good way to get some voters on your side.
Exactly. So the inflation at the beginning of Joe Biden's term was fairly normal, but now it's gotten to the point where companies are not able to keep up with the demand. So the supply chain shortage is causing, prices to increase naturally. And to be completely fair, this isn't necessarily due to anything that Biden did. Like you can't point to a policy and say like Joe Biden is causing this.
Yeah.
But it is the result of global consumerism because that,
yeah,
that's what our
1000%.
economy is based off of.
Classic.
Yeah.
But it's like fucking also, you got to remember that the inflation isn't just like shortages alone. It's also just extra costs incurred by all these companies with the shipping containers because we have to remember that they sent off shipping containers at one price and then they had to come back like crazy expensive. So much more expensive than they were before. And that's why we have a shipping container shortage.
Yeah. And also, like, I don't know if there's been like images of this, but I know there's been reporting that a lot of cargo ships are just sitting in the docks.
Oh, they are.
Or they're just waiting to dock.
They've been
for like weeks.
There are cargo ships that anchor like for 4 weeks on average.
Yeah. They're just like sitting there
Chilling.
waiting to be able to be offloaded, but there isn't enough workers to do it. So they just take forever.
So then the solution is 24/7 ports.
That's what I don't understand. And we'll get into this even more later, but why are we not attracting more workers by offering more benefits and more payment rather than just subjugating the current workers to work even more?
Instead of literally forcing them into slave labor.
Like,
Why don't we subsidize
Yes.
their wages?
wage slavery. Like, this order from Joe Biden to keep the ports open 24/7 is evidence that these workers are essential for the functioning of our economy.
Yeah.
But instead of getting more workers by raising the minimum wage or adding more benefits to these positions or adding more off time to these positions so people aren't, working all the time, we just make those that are currently working work even more, work even harder, take on even more stress to not only their mental health, but also their physical health because it's manual labor.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, what do you think the end result is really going to be?
The poor owners getting a lot of money.
That, and also the workers are just going to, like, die from exhaustion.
Their bodies are literally going to crumble.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of workers' comp claims after this one.
Yeah. So I have a quote here from a Vox article. It says, "It's tempting to blame the pandemic alone for the current supply chain catastrophe, but in some ways, the pandemic merely exacerbated existing problems with global trade and exposed some new ones. What the pandemic did do was cause factories to shut down, usually because there weren't enough workers, and create shortages of products and components. Those shortages led to bottlenecks and delays in product manufacturing. If factories don't have the parts to build something, it doesn't get made and doesn't get shipped. As more shortages lead to more bottlenecks, the disruption causes problems in other parts of the supply chain, creating even more shortages, new delays, and higher prices." And the article also notes that some of this is a result of U.S. companies moving abroad for all of their manufacturing and outsourcing all of their processes and stuff. So if you look at this issue, and you see that this is a result of globally nations treating their workers poorly, then you'll realize that capitalism is causing you to not get your PS5.
But it's the most efficient system.
Yeah, this proves to me that this...
Capitalism is clearly the most efficient system.
Capitalism is the most efficient system that has absolutely no problems ever and is very rational.
Yeah. No, guys, you don't understand. If we subsidize the wages of these port workers, that would be anti-free market.
Oh, because if we subsidize the wages that these workers get, then they're going to get lazy because they clearly already are. They're not doing any work. That's why the supply chain blockage is happening, is because these workers are too lazy.
Yeah, it's because your local restaurant is short-staffed by a cook and 2 waitresses.
Yeah, it's because the workers at these ports just aren't trying hard enough.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So we should take money away as an incentive for them to work harder.
Exactly. And then if we take unemployment benefits away, they just can't not work.
Oh, exactly. Because if they don't work, they actually die.
Yeah.
And so do their children because they don't have a health insurance plan.
Even though their children did nothing wrong.
Wow, that's actually a really good idea. I love the free market solutions over here. Anyway, you may be asking, what's the conservative response to this? Because I know all of our listeners deeply care about how conservatives react to every issue that pops up, as do we.
We do.
So the conservative response is, Joe Biden is ruining Christmas.
Bro, Joe Biden is the Antichrist.
Like every single issue that happens for the right just boils into a fucking culture war.
Especially like around now when we have the Christmas war, the Happy Holidays versus Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
can't wait to see that classic Dennis Prager video come back.
Yeah, because they can point to an exact policy where Joe Biden is saying that we need to block the supply chain so that Christmas fails.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is so anti-Christian.
It's the exact same as like critical race theory, Dr. Seuss, the Captain America stuff, the new Superman comic where he's bisexual. Like it's all the same arguments. It's just the culture, like just things that don't matter.
Mixed with a little bit of Christian persecution complex.
Yeah. You know, if like even if the supply chain was slowing down because we were actually prioritizing workers, I'm okay with Christmas being a little less abundant if that means people are not starving on Christmas morning.
Literally.
That's fine with me.
It's literally a Christmas carol.
Exactly.
Come on.
So my biggest criticism here to the coverage of this whole situation is that not a lick of this coverage from the media is focused on workers whatsoever.
Oh, yeah. It still accepts the conservative framing that Joe Biden is ruining Christmas in one way or another.
Right. I mean, and it's focusing on the large-scale supply chain issue, which like is the issue at hand. But none of it is focusing on why these workers are not as efficient as they may have been previously under non-pandemic conditions. And that is because the market, the free market that they love, has necessitated that workers are not working these port jobs anymore because it's not worth it.
Exactly.
So they have a shortage of workers, and the pandemic has caused all kinds of issues. So, of course, there's going to be a supply chain block. But nobody focuses on the actual conditions that workers are being exposed to.
Conservatives love to say, if you don't like your job, then just leave and go get another one. But then when they do, when they don't work your shitty fucking job anymore, they whine to the government.
Right.
And the government fixes it by mandating slavery.
Yeah. Then when you actually leave the job, then they're like, wait, you weren't supposed to do that. You're acting entitled. You're being a child.
Yeah, you're being lazy.
Right.
You're being lazy.
It's a lose-lose situation. You complain about your job when you're in it because you're not getting enough. suddenly you're lazy and entitled. But then if you leave, you're also lazy and entitled. Like, what do they want?
You're so fucking lazy that you don't want to do back-breaking work on a triple shift, day in, day out, no weekends, no breaks.
While your manager sits up in his office doing nothing at all.
Exactly. While dude's like writing on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Just kind of like writing down, oh, this ship came in. Okay, they're out now. That's
Yep.
it. That's it. And bro's making bank.
Anybody could do that.
Well, your back is literally breaking.
Oh my God. Yeah, and none of this focuses at all on how the workers at these ports are the only reason that the U.S. consumerist economy can function at all.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is so worried about if they can engage in their yearly annual consumerism around Christmas and Thanksgiving time, while nobody stops to think for a minute why they are actually able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not because of it's not even because the U.S. government oversees the ports that are oversees the port functioning or anything. It's not because the managers are making them function. It's because the workers that unload all the ships at these ports and then get in the trucks and drive all the content around the country to the different states and wherever it needs to be delivered.
Drivers,
yeah, nobody focuses
haulers.
on the fact that the workers are the only reason that people can actually consume during the holiday season.
The same thing happened, I think, like when the pandemic first started, with the worry that interstate travel would be banned, so we couldn't have long haul truckers going around getting these goods everywhere.
Right.
Like, it's the same thing, different font. You know what I mean?
Right. And it obfuscates the fact that sure, you being able to buy what you want is important, but what about the people that are doing backbreaking work to deliver the goods that you have bought?
Exactly. And that brings
the
us
framing
to
is always on the consumer and never on the people that are dying to produce.
Yeah. Yeah. It even, you can take a step further and just look at the larger framing and how this all points to the exploitation of the global south and things like that, and how that perpetuates the consumerist economy. We can point to sweatshops overseas. Why are we outsourcing?
Yeah.
Why have we hit this problem?
Yeah.
It's because of lax labor laws overseas and the literal sweatshop and slave conditions over there.
Right.
The goods that are manufactured, just because something is made in the USA doesn't mean that it's made ethically in the USA.
It's not most of the time.
Most of the time it's not. LA conditions in LA factories are akin to those of sweatshops.
Yeah.
It's actually horrible here too.
Not even to mention that the narrative here, we've been talking about a corporate tax rate.
Yeah.
The narrative here is that we need to keep it competitive when it's not competitive to begin. What
Not at
competition
all.
is happening within the United States for corporations?
It's all fake.
And none of it's real.
It's all fake.
Right, they just go overseas, have children do their labor, or people like Elon Musk make all their money off of children in emerald mines.
Literally.
And then they just come back and sell you shit that doesn't matter for the holidays,
What
and
is
you're
it?
happy about it.
Fucking Nesquik, the chocolate milk company and shit.
Yeah.
Literal child labor. The Supreme Court, what was the ruling? It was a couple months ago. Ruled they literally
Yeah, I
were
remember.
hiring contractors who were subcontracting to people who used literal child labor,
Yeah.
illegal slave child labor and
Yep.
shit. And then the Supreme Court ruled, they didn't know, so it's okay.
Yeah,
They don't need to face any consequences.
There's
for
no way
this.
they could have known. Their money wasn't going towards the direct material harm of these children.
How could they have not known?
No,
Literally,
they
how
knew.
could they have not
They knew.
known?
The
They
people at the top,
1,000% knew.
They knew. It's the same as these defense contractors. When the U.S. just
Yeah.
gives militia groups money to go and kill innocent people in the Middle East. They know.
It's I wonder why the Supreme Court ruled that way. I wonder if there's any certain political leaning on the Supreme Court right now.
No. It's a biased body, Gage. How dare you question the
Unbiased
integrity
body, too.
of the
I'm
Supreme
sorry.
Court?
I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's an
guys.
unbiased body.
We love the Supreme Court over
How
here.
dare you question my favorite American institution?
So true. Longtime listeners know we love the Supreme Court.
Oh yeah. If you just go back 5 episodes,
Yes.
there's no episode that's dedicated to how much we love the Supreme Court. or
There's
anything.
no episode titled SCOTUS wants you to be homeless.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. It should have been titled SCOTUS doesn't want you to be homeless.
Oh yeah,
You
because
know what
they
I mean?
care about your material well-being.
They love abstract liberalism and they want you to have to work hard for your home. That's it. They're helping you.
Yeah, they want to coerce you into the workplace by saying if
Exactly.
you don't work for a job that you don't care about that barely pays you anything, you're probably going to die being homeless.
Whoa. It's not coerced though. It's a choice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
is,
it's a choice. Work or die is a choice.
It's passionately encouraged.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then this criticism also extends to the fact that Biden is limited to what he can do to alleviate this issue because it's it's about consumerism.
It's a global issue as
He's
well.
limited to, not only because it's a global issue, but because as president, he has to ensure, well, any politician has to ensure that the economy survives under capitalism.
I wouldn't say any politician, considering what happened last week.
What do you
Considering Mitch McConnell last week or 2 weeks ago, Mitch McConnell saying, "Yeah, we're just not going to raise the debt ceiling."
Well,
if you don't do
here's the
this."
thing, though, is that they only have to protect the economy insofar as they protect capital.
Yeah,
Because,
the optics.
Like if the debt ceiling like didn't raise, like sure, like the economy crumbles, but who's really going to take on the brunt of that pain?
Us.
Yeah, the working class,
them.
like workers, low wage people, middle class people, exactly. But the politicians can only do so much about these large scale issues because they still have to protect capital. So while people are demanding, the president does something to solve, whether it's supply chain issues or climate change or low wages, whatever, they can only solve the issue insofar as it doesn't hurt capitalists because they rely on capitalists for the state to exist.
And Ronald Reagan just pushed that so much further, just infesting the minds of every American with trickle-down economics.
Right.
Just
Yeah, exactly.
simping for your corporate overlords.
Like people be talking about how like Joe Biden's gonna like destroy the country or like Democrats are gonna destroy the economy. Like the economy's been destroyed for the last 40 fucking years.
It's been destroyed forever, and Ronald Reagan did it.
Like the great reset happened already. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's ridiculous. So I guess my last question on this would be, what impact do you think this whole supply chain thing, especially like around Christmas, is going to have on public opinion going forward?
Exactly what it's intended to. I feel like it's just another talking point for the midterms next year that's going to hurt Democrats.
Yeah.
Like I
probably.
don't really see this going any other way.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. It's hard to tell, I guess, because I mean, our predictions on public opinion have been wrong before, like about Afghanistan and stuff. But I don't know. The news moves so fast. The media moves so fast. They always cover things like in the wrong way. Their framing is always atrocious, which is kind of like the theme of this episode, honestly. So it's hard to tell if this is really going to matter, but I could guess that a lot of like the suburban white moms are going to be pretty mad.
Oh, they're going to care a lot.
If they perceive Joe Biden to have somehow messed up the orders that they made for the Christmas holiday. I mean, it's kind of like just culture war at that point, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, because they're not going to care about the working conditions for the poor workers.
Yeah.
Like, everybody should.
Yeah. And speaking of, actually, there's been like, I don't know if listeners have been paying attention to this, but there's been a whole bunch of like labor union strikes pop up.
Big labor movement
throughout
right
the countries. Throughout the country. And one of the, like, it's kind of just a logical extension of what's going on with the ports. Because if I was a port worker, I'm not working 95 hours a week.
Unionized, baby.
Yeah.
I'd be in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no shot that I'm working 95. Like, you're crazy.
Yeah, literally.
Like, and I mean, like I said, these port workers are the reason that the U.S. economy can survive at all, because we rely on overseas production for just about everything in our economy.
They should be banking.
Exactly.
If the free market is supposed to dictate like what's needed, you know what I mean? And what's needed is supposed to be getting paid the most. Like, they should be banking. Janitors should be banking. Sanitation workers should be banking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But instead, Ben Shapiro.
Example.
Ben Shapiro makes more than these people.
But instead, Ben, my wife sleeps in another room, Shapiro.
Exactly. No, but like, if I don't know if listeners have been paying much attention, but like we talked about the IATSE strike that happened, or that was authorized a few weeks ago, that may or may not be happening still. John Deere workers are about to start striking, or maybe already have.
Yeah, I don't know the details on that one, but like specifically like what John Deere was doing, they're trying to get rid of pensions for new employees and also cut other benefits. The same thing that Kellogg is doing. I don't know if we talked about the Kellogg strike on the last episode, but workers in 4 states are about to go on strike because there's like 2 tiers of Kellogg's worker.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. This is all off the dome. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There are 2 tiers of Kellogg's worker. One is paid like $10 less than the other. And like the B tier, they're trying to cut more benefits, completely cut the pensions for any new worker that signs on. So how Kellogg is trying to frame it to their current employees is, look, this doesn't really affect you. It'll just affect literally anyone else that comes into this plant.
Right.
And they're like, no, this is actually just bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with Kellogg. And then at least with IATSE, last night, Saturday night, if you're not a, Patreon subscriber listening to this early.
Yeah.
Saturday night, IATSE and the producers thing, or whatever the fuck, like the guys are fighting against, reached an agreement, and it's to be ratified this week. Like the vote to ratify is going to be this week. And what they reached in the agreement is kind of controversial within the IATSE people, because they've got 10-hour breaks, like mandatory 10-hour breaks between shifts.
That's putrid. That's not enough time to like go home,
14-hour days?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
14-hour days, and they got lunch breaks.
Yeah, and they're getting paid what, dirt cheap?
Yeah.
Dirt nothing?
Most of this is California, and this only applies to, I think, the California people.
Yeah.
Because it mentioned in the article that I was reading that everyone else, like, around the country has to come up with their own agreement.
Yeah.
Has to do their own thing, do their own fighting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it an international union?
That's what I thought.
I think the I stands for international, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But apparently people in like other states are going to have to do their own bargaining.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, they got 56-hour weekends, which is just like a standard fucking weekend. Like, why do we have to fight for that?
Right.
Why we got to? I thought unions already fought for the weekend before.
Yeah, I thought we handled that in like the 40s.
Yeah, come on now. And then they got their wages, minimum wage increased from $15 to $20 an hour.
That's not enough for California, though.
Literally not at all, especially considering the areas that like movie studios film in.
Yeah.
Super expensive, right? You're not living where you work.
Mm-mm.
This is besides the fact that they're already gig workers.
Yep.
Like, people in IATSE are gig workers. They're hired. They got to go around. No consistency whatsoever.
Yeah.
Year over year. They've got to commute like 2 hours to set. You know how California traffic is.
Yeah.
Living in a shitty area for $20 an hour.
The money they're getting paid turns to dust faster than Chuck Grassley.
Oh, no.
Literally. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, you think Chuck Grassley is bad? That dude's a pile of dirt. Just wait till you get paid $20 an hour, then have to drive 2 hours, maybe longer because of like California traffic back, and then spend it on food, and then wake up in the morning and then have to do the same thing again.
It's like you work a 14-hour day on set. You got to drive back home, drive an hour back home. Right,
now
home,
you got 9 hours left.
To set.
Now you got 8 hours left.
You got 8 hours left to sleep. That's no time to eat.
To sleep, eat, relax, have a social life.
Yeah, relax while you sleep. Socialize in your dreams. That's literally fucking it. And you get a lunch break.
Yeah.
Instead. So some people are saying that they're not going to vote to ratify the agreement.
Yeah.
And I said power to them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
1,000%.
if it's not enough, and your labor union is a democratic organization, which it should be, you know, it's an attempt to instill democracy in the workplace, then absolutely you should vote no if it's not enough. And it's insane. Like, this is just evidence of how far right the Overton window is skewed in this country, because we look at these labor movements and we're like, wow, they're making so much progress, when they are asking for literally crumbs.
Bare minimum.
They're asking to just still come to work, be subjugated to the same working conditions, but just have a little bit more of a break and get paid a little bit more.
Yeah, your break, I guess it's your car ride home.
Right. And like, think about the institutional protections that these unions are actually offered. It's basically nothing. Like, the PRO Act in Congress, which was like a union bill, didn't pass. Like, it's still not law.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in Congress that's not passing right now.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But like the actual government or state assistance that these unions get, it varies from state to state, but it's basically nothing. The corporation or the company or the capitalist has all of the power in this equation.
Dog shit, if you will.
Yeah.
However, I will say with these IATSE strikes, 90% of all like members in the union voted for the strike authorization.
Overwhelmingly supported.
And then within that 90% that voted, 98% voted to authorize the strike.
Yep.
So they definitely have a little bit more power than your regular labor union right now. So I say renegotiate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen throughout the country that because of the pandemic and unemployment benefits and all this kind of stuff, like, workers are starting to realize their worth in the workplace, realize that the only reason that the company they work for survives is because of them.
Yeah.
So they are starting to understand that they can demand more. They don't have to act as actual slaves in the workplace just to survive day to day. And it's good to see all these unions popping up and doing strikes. And we've talked about strikes on the pod before. Strikes are not the end goal, but it's good to see them happening.
Fire.
Especially under the current organization of the economy. More strikes, the better, I would say, at this moment in time. So I'm happy to see it.
And especially right now. Especially right now with all the dire conditions in the pandemic. Like, businesses are already hurting. Make them hurt more.
Oh, yeah.
The only way to get to what you want is to hit them in the pockets. And especially with the IATSE strike, I will say, like, it's not like it's an essential service. It's not like there could potentially be harm to the economy if Mando season 3 comes out a month later.
Bro,
you know
I'll
what I mean?
Pretty pissed though.
I'll be
not at the workers.
I'll be pretty upset.
Not at the workers.
Yeah, no. I'll just be kind of sad that Mando season 3 is a little late. But like, I'd rather people be paid livable wages and not have to starve.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we talked about that with Apple on like one of the other episodes.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't get an iPhone every year, that's fine.
Exactly.
That's literally. I mean, as long as people aren't killing themselves because of their job,
the standard
that's okay.
is good enough right now.
Exactly.
That I'm okay with people being paid more.
We talk about a lot of like doomer shit on the pod.
Yeah.
Like, we can be cynical sometimes, but it is, if you are listening to the pod and you feel like sometimes the news that we give is very sad, it is a really good sign that workers are standing up to their employers across the country. Mm-hmm. It is a sign of progress. It's a sign that capitalism is not insurmountable, that you can't fight back against the current existing organization of our economy. Like, you can push back, and if you push in unison and you organize around one goal with your coworkers, then you can get a lot of stuff done. And that's a truth that we've known,
Facts.
but one that hasn't really been actualized, at least in our lifetime.
Has been actualized because of the insane amount of anti-union propaganda we are just shoved every day.
What's the percent? Like 10% of the American workforce is unionized?
It's something stupid.
It's like
something
you can't even compare it to other countries that actually have union protections in their law.
Yeah, I mean, like, this strike activity going on right now is the largest it's been in a while, but like, that's not a high bar. In 2010,
yeah, exactly.
In the 2010s, strike activity was nearly zero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, guys.
It's good to see, though.
It's a good sign, but like, still bad circumstances overall.
Yeah, I mean,
There's been a hopeful news in a while, though.
The conditions that people have been exposed to have just been accelerated to a worse degree.
Yeah.
But I think that's made a lot of people realize that why am I holding up the economy when it doesn't work for me in any way? And that's what these port workers should also realize. Like, if the economy doesn't work for you, why are you working for it?
Yeah, port workers fuck around a strike.
Yeah.
I can wait a week for my Amazon package to come in.
Piss off all the white suburban moms with blonde hair. Like, I don't care.
Fuck around a strike. They will pay you more. They literally have to. Make the government subsidize your wages.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now.
Exactly. So the next bit of news isn't necessarily big news, but it's this putrid article that's just all about pandering to Joe Manchin that I wanted to talk about.
You know, we love talking shit about Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema every single week.
It kind of goes in line with exactly what we were talking about before, with how far right the narrative is just by default. So this article is titled, "To Woo Manchin, Dems Should Okay Climate Funds for Coal and Gas Plants."
Climate funds. Climate funds. That's literally anti-climate. Exactly. It's just literally anti-climate. They should... I can't. I literally can't with these corporate fucking shills.
Yeah.
What do you... I was going to say, what do you have to gain from this? But clearly they have a lot to gain from this monetarily.
It feels like Joe Manchin's son just authored an article and the CNN just put it up. You know what I'm saying?
Ghostwrit the article.
Yeah. So this article basically outlines how Joe Manchin refuses to vote for provisions that are as strict as the ones that are currently in the reconciliation bill that, go to prevent against climate change, and that Democrats should leave coal and gas plants alone if they meet certain climate standards.
The issue.
Right, but here's the climate standards, is that the plan proposed would allow companies that are coal and gas plants that have carbon capture technology to qualify as companies that are also meeting renewable energy standards.
What?
So the way that the plan is set up is basically that if you don't meet certain renewable energy standards, there are taxes imposed on you for not doing that. Right? It's a free market approach, very basic. And under this proposed plan, coal and gas companies would qualify to reach those standards if they have carbon capture technology. So they'd be treated the same as a renewable company.
So not only are they dodging the carbon tax, they're getting sustainable treatment.
Yes, I don't know if you get subsidies if you qualify under a renewable company according with the Democrats' plan. But yeah, you get all the benefits that come along with being considered a company that uses renewable energy.
On top of dodging the fucking carbon tax.
Yes.
On top of all the subsidies that oil and gas already get from the government, because it's not a profitable industry.
Yeah.
It's literally not profitable to be run within the free market. They only survive off of subsidies. 80% of energy subsidies go to fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? What the actual fuck, dude? I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. Who is he representing?
West Virginians, brother.
Amazing, brother. Dude, it's West Virginia. I think they're only the second top manufacturer of coal, statewide.
Oh, they're not even good enough.
They're not even number one
West Virginia's
anymore.
Straight up the worst state. Holy shit.
They can't even. They're not good at anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mid-state.
Yeah, the Democrats' plan, the one that I mentioned about imposing fines on companies that don't follow renewable energy standards, it's a free market approach. It's not forcing companies. It's not saying that unless you do this, we're going to dissolve your company. It's a suggestion. Like, wealthy corporations can just dodge it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, even if they don't have carbon capture technology, they can just be like, okay, give us the fine. We'll survive.
We'll just eat the fine because you're paying for it anyway, because you pay for us to function.
Middle class taxes, by the way, baby.
That's right.
And Manchin cannot even get on board with that part of the plan. And this article is just all about how we should pander to Joe Manchin to allow coal and gas companies to continue to pollute the environment if they have this one specific kind of technology.
What?
And that's the thing. It's like, this is the part of the narrative that pisses me off, is because it's not even like allowing these corporations to continue doing what they're doing. They can do that anyway. It's just imposing greater fines on them so that we can redirect those funds to go towards more climate activist action. But we can't even do that.
Fines aren't a punishment for Fortune 500 companies.
Exactly.
Just like how fines aren't a punishment for rich people.
Yeah, they
you know
break
what
the
I mean?
speeding limit or something.
Exactly. It's the fucking quote. If the punishment for breaking the law is a fine, then it only affects poor people.
Yeah, the law's only for poor people.
Yeah, except, I mean, there are no poor oil and gas.
Mom
It's
and
just
pop's oil and gas company.
Yeah, your mom and pop coal mine around the corner. Like, it just doesn't affect anybody. It's not anything.
Yeah. Environmental groups have spoken out about this proposal and said that it's not actually going to do much to solve pollution problems and only prolongs the use of fossil fuels.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like, you are giving them, like, renewable status. You are giving these plants renewable status.
Yeah. It would treat them the same in the eyes of the law. Like, I don't know. Like, I know we're reiterating this a lot, but I cannot fathom how this would even be an idea. Like, how can we treat coal and gas plants, the people that we have identified as part of the problem that has contributed to climate change, how can we treat them the same as the end that we are trying to meet to save the fucking planet?
It's one fucking guy. It's also literally just one fucking guy that's standing in the way
It's
of everything.
baffling. Like, I can't
actually
comprehend
evil.
it.
He's literally killing people.
I can't comprehend. Like, the stupidity of this proposal is just baffling. And the fact that it's coming from CNN, an actual news outlet, that is saying this shit. Like, it pisses me off so much because, and I wanted to bring this all up because the article frames this issue in a way that highlights Joe Manchin's power in this situation, his grift.
Literally the most powerful man in the world right now.
And I'm so sick of it. Because, like, journalists frame this issue and, like, the issue of Joe Manchin in general as like how Democrats can get Joe Manchin, or what they need to get to Joe Manchin on their side, or what they need to do to get Joe Manchin on their side.
And Democrats do that.
Right.
And then Joe Manchin's not on their side.
Right.
And then he goes even further.
They frame it like that instead of framing it like Joe Manchin is willing to let the planet die to protect his son's coal company. Because that's what's happening.
In fact, to protect his son's coal company, to protect his investments in his son's coal company, to protect his position when he's no longer a senator come 2024 and he goes to work in his coal company because it's not his son's at all. He built it.
Yeah.
Like,
That-
but it's okay that he's the chair of the Natural Resource and Energy Commission.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't understand. I cannot fathom why it's being framed as Democrats need to get Joe Manchin on their side. Here's how you can get the centrist moderate senator. Like, no, he is willing to let the planet die to protect corporate profits. That is what he is doing. He's not some, like, hero moderate. He's not some person that's, like, fighting for both sides or to preserve unity in Congress. He just wants to protect his
He's
own
literally
wealth.
villain because everyone hates him.
Yeah.
Like, everybody hates him right now. Democrats hate him.
Yeah.
Conservatives will always hate him. They make fun of him. They bully him in private. Like, in public, too, and he doesn't care.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is that any one of the senators could do the exact same grift that Manchin and Sinema are doing. Like, Bernie Sanders could say, oh, the reconciliation package doesn't include free college education and Medicare. I'm not voting for it. He could do that.
He could do that.
But he's not doing it because he's not a fucking idiot.
Exactly. He's not going to hold up things that are going to help people as well.
He recognizes
these in.
that there's a lot within both the infrastructure bill and the reconciliation package that not only align with his views, but are the agenda of the larger Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So he's not going to destroy that because there's some, or maybe a lot of things missing that he wants in. He's going to find another opportunity. But instead, Joe Manchin's willing to literally let the planet die if it means that he can, one, appear as a centrist, moderate, cool guy, and also, two, protect his son's profits, which are also, funny enough, his own profits.
Because that's literally all it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a hidden component to it. Maybe
No
he's
way.
just got a degradation kink.
Okay, how so? Go on.
Maybe he just loves to hear everyone talking shit about him. He's in his houseboat. He's in his shower. He's got his belt tied around his neck in the shower, just jerking off, listening to like fucking Us. It's Us making fun of
it. In the office
He's
on.
Like, oh yeah, baby.
He's one of our
I'm such
almost.
a shitter.
He's one
I'm
of our
so fucking evil.
He's one of our almost 100 consistent listeners.
Yeah, literally, it's him.
Bro, that is the only reality that I will accept and say, you know what, Joe Biden, I understand why you're doing this.
Exactly.
Or not Joe Biden, Joe Manchin, I understand why you're doing this.
It's just a degradation kink.
That is the only reality I'm okay with.
Yeah,
anything else is unacceptable.
We don't kink shame here on Head in the Office.
Right.
So I guess we're going to have to stop talking about Joe now.
No. Well, we can keep talking about Joe because he likes it.
Oh, true.
And then we'll just kindly suggest that he actually passes the reconciliation bill, but we can keep up our act. We can keep up our end of the bargain.
Instead of making fun of him, maybe we'll just suggest these things. But it's hard not to make fun of him.
Maybe we can be the ones that strike a deal with Joe Manchin when no one else could.
Oh, it's like that one like random like Mexican meme account that negotiated with the Taliban to get the embassy free.
That was crazy, by the way.
That could be us. That could be us one day.
We could negotiate with the true terrorist, Joe Manchin.
Kirsten Sinema.
Exactly. Speaking of Kirsten Sinema, don't you got some stuff here?
You know we can't bring up. We can't talk about him without bringing up his partner in crime. For what is a coal baron without their manic pixie dream girl sidekick?
That's a dynamic duo.
You know what I mean?
You can't have one without the other.
It's a match made in heaven, an unlikely pair. One would say enemies to lovers, maybe.
Oh,
you know.
Maybe you can convince me.
Maybe I can. But anyway, some new FEC filings just dropped. And if you don't know what the FEC is, it's the Federal Elections Commission.
Yep. Just
to make sure that everybody's like, spick and span with their campaign finance things. Naturally. You know how it goes. And so in these new FEC filings, Mother Jones reported that Kirsten has been receiving maxed out campaign contributions from some hog-ass motherfuckers.
Maxed out what's the max? $2,000?
$2,900 per individual and like $5,600 over a 2-year period.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Something like that. So donations include, but are not limited to, a bunch of private equity CEOs, as well as other big business owners. And one guy that they specifically highlighted in the article who maxed out his contribution has also been known to give over $400,000 to the Senate Leadership Fund. Do you know what the
Isn't
Senate...
that Mitch McConnell's?
That's Mitch McConnell's fund. Yeah. The same people that are funding Turtle Mitch McConnell are also funding Kirsten Sinema.
Jesus Christ. Just follow the money and you'll figure out what's going on here, people.
That doesn't tell you where her allegiances really stand. I don't know what does.
No, like one of the best ways you can determine the, not accountability, but the integrity of a politician is where their money streams come from. 100%. And for most, Kamala Harris type Democrats, it's coming from shady places, but it's already well known. Where she's getting insurance companies, et cetera, et cetera. But with Sinema, it's straight up coming from the ops. Her money's straight up coming from the ops.
Her and Mitch McConnell, one and the same. If you look at their FEC filings, they are one and the same.
Right, you couldn't tell them apart.
Insurance, these guys, private equity.
Mm-hmm. If I handed you 2 sheets of paper that broke down expenditures coming from other organizations into the pockets of these politicians, they'd be literally the same.
If we handed you these 2 papers, you could not tell the bisexual woman who wears mint green wigs to Congress from the fucking white guy.
Yeah, the actual demon.
The old-ass demon white guy. You couldn't tell.
Mm-mm.
Those two types of people are not usually compatible.
That is crazy. And I expect that more of this kind of information will flare up around the election for 2022, which is in one short year.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting
That'll
time.
be fun.
That'll be an exciting news cycle for us. But moreover, when was the last time that Republicans like Mitt Romney or Marco Rubio were in the news? Or even Mitch McConnell? Never. They have not been there for months. It's all been Kirsten and fucking Joe.
I can't even think of a time when Mitt Romney, Marco Rubio, or really any of the average hogs were in the news since Donald Trump was elected, really.
Yeah, sometimes I see a tweet from Mitt
Ted
Romney.
Cruz, I guess, gets in the news sometimes. When he flees to Cancun, when Texas is literally exploding.
That's it. Other than that, he's getting in fights with AOC on Twitter.
Yeah.
Business as usual.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But ever since the Democrats took the Senate and maintained the House and Joe Biden was in office, it's all been these stupid moderates who stop everything from happening.
They are. I say this to say that they are the best conservatives in Congress right now.
No, yeah, you're right.
They are. Just look at who's funding them.
Yeah, they're doing Mitch McConnell's job.
That's simply it. And then if we go back to the man of the hour, Joe Manchin, you don't even need to think for a second that info didn't drop on this fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In the third quarter of this year alone, Mr. Manchin received $400,000 from oil and gas.
Like combined different companies?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Why does he even need that? He'd literally do this agenda without receiving that money as well. He has his own fucking company. The stupidly named Enter Systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, the thing is that this $400,000 goes directly into either his reelection bid, or he can send this money to another politician and they can use it for their reelection bid.
Literally.
Because there is restrictions on what you can do with this money. Like, it can't just go into your personal bank account. Well, theoretically, it's not supposed to.
Supposedly it can't.
Supposedly it can. I mean, he's making money in all those sorts of ways. But like this $400, right, hypothetically is supposed to just go towards election purposes. But if you just have access to, I mean, seemingly infinite money from oil and gas companies, of course, once you get reelected, you're going to represent the interests of not the people that elected you, but of oil and gas companies.
And election purposes can be a wide variety of things.
Yeah, it's vague.
Like right now, we have Kirsten Sinema in Europe just dropped $1,000 at a winery and wrote it all off as like a fundraising expense.
Yeah, Donald Trump wrote off his hair as like a tax exempt kind of thing.
His shitty fucking hair.
I don't know if that was like an election thing, but
I think
it was a tax exemption.
It was a business thing.
Yeah,
it was a business expense to keep up appearances.
It's like $70,000.
Such a celebrity.
But the hair is so fucking ugly. He's paying $70,000
anyway.
Bro.
Get waves.
Waves.
Get waves.
Yeah, get waves.
Get waves. But notably, amongst donors for Joe Manchin, we have Kelsey Warren, which is the co-founder of Energy Transfer Partners, which is another stupid fucking name for these like evil companies. Like, I don't get it, bro.
We came up with a better name for a podcast.
Literally.
Several, actually. That didn't pan out.
That's true. But maybe one day you'll get to figure out
Head
what
in the
those
office,
were.
though.
But
that one worked out.
That's where we are. But anyways, this chick, she's responsible for hosting a fundraiser for Trump, as well as personally donating over $13 million to help conservative causes.
Okay, like if you can look at this and just say like, yeah, our elections process is fair, you're literally delusional. I wish I could live in the same delusional world that you do.
It's like we've talked about this before, voting with your dollar. Okay, the people who have more money get more votes.
Exactly.
They just are more democracy than you are.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
They get more of a consideration. Like they can just, on a whim, send $13 million around to different officials just to get what they want.
The Senate Leadership Fund.
Yeah. The Senate Leadership Fund or other super PACs or political action committees or candidates or whatever it may be, they can just buy their way into politics. Like regular people can't do this.
No.
Workers can't do this. Even labor unions, who are considered on par with super PACs, can't do this.
Regular people are only supposed to be able to donate up to $2,900 to individual campaigns, $5,600 over the course of 2 years. Like,
yeah.
And then you can just obfuscate that by donating to something like, again, the Senate Leadership Fund.
Or like a super PAC where you can donate infinite amount of money. There's no regulations.
And then if you're a corporation, you can also donate an infinite amount of money because corporations are people. Thanks, Citizens United.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways.
But with Joe holding all these climate provisions hostage and Sinema planting her feet with prescription drug prices, both of them opposing tax hikes, what the fuck is left in this reconciliation bill? If we were to cave, what would be left? Childcare and college, community college.
I mean, because they'd probably make an argument against those two things too.
Yeah. So like the bill's just not there with these two people.
That's the point for them.
This is true.
That's like actually the goal.
But like broadly, there's got to be something to stop these people. Like she's been 6-year terms, unlimited. There's no term limits. Incumbent advantage. There's nothing to hold these people accountable. There's got to be some way to get them out of the office, like midterm.
No,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know if different states have like recall provisions for senators. I mean, because you can do a vote of no confidence, but that doesn't really mean anything.
It just means we're not gonna the Arizona Democrats aren't gonna support Kirsten Sinema in her reelection, which nobody should anyway.
But here's the thing: like, if Joe Manchin for some reason had to step out of his position, the Republican governor of West Virginia will just appoint a Republican senator to fill in for his term.
Yeah. So some of that is different. Like I know specifically in Arizona, if Kirsten Sinema were to step down from her position, they would have to appoint a same party candidate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta believe it's not like that in West Virginia.
Yeah, I gotta believe that's a pretty unique thing because that's a little too democratic.
Right.
You know?
Right. Like, and I don't know. I know that there's a, I don't know if it's a super PAC or just a regular PAC that is formed called like the Primary Cinema organization or something. And all they're doing is just focusing on getting donations to donate to whoever runs against her in the Democratic primary in 24.
That's hard.
Yeah,
that's hard. But sad.
Short term, you can't do anything to her.
Because it's 3 more years of this shit.
Right.
It's until 2024. She can literally do whatever she wants.
Yeah. And meanwhile, her partner from Arizona, Mark Kelly, has to get reelected in 2022.
Yeah, he also fucking sucks, by the way. But he's just not as bad.
Nearly as bad as
not
these
as
people.
Bad.
Yeah, no, like he has to get reelected, and I can only believe that she is just destroying Mark Kelly's chances of getting reelected in the state.
Yeah.
Because people are gonna have such a bad taste in their mouth, not only from Kyrsten Sinema, but from like the broad level of inaction from Democrats across the country.
Yeah, the absolutely zero campaign promises delivered.
Yeah, actually, he's taken away more than he has given from his promises.
Actually, he said, stay in Mexico.
Classic Kamala Harris. Do not come.
Do not come.
Anyways, we can moving on, but still kind of related topic, talking about the reconciliation bill. And CNN also released another putrid article that says Democrats are in a political crisis.
You'd think.
Yeah, you would think. In a recent article from CNN, new pollings found that Americans don't think that the infrastructure legislation, so both bills together, will have anything to do with changing their actual lives. So, a quote from the article. 1 in 4 voters said that the passage of the 2 bills will make their families better off. Only 1 in 4. 1 in 3, about 32%, said that the bill passed would make their family worse off, and 43% said that things would remain the same.
And it's like the thing with that is I can totally see where they're coming from.
Right, exactly.
Like the infrastructure bill that has already passed, roads, bridges, and rails.
Well, past the Senate.
Past the Senate.
Has not passed generally.
You know what I mean? Past the Senate that will go through if the reconciliation goes through.
Yeah.
Like, the political process, how it goes. That bill, like traditional infrastructure, that's only going to implicitly help your life get better because that is the bare minimum.
Right.
All that really means for you is that there are less potholes, less expenses repairing your car.
Right. Cleaner air, cleaner water, hopefully.
Exactly.
In places that are like already well-to-do.
But that's the traditional infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
The reconciliation bill is the one that's actually going to help people and actually help future generations. 2 years of free community college.
Materially help you.
That saves like hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run in student loan debt.
Yeah.
Like individually. Like that will only help you. Childcare, that will only help you. Lower prescription drug prices, that will literally make your life better, instantly.
Lower prescription drug prices, which Kyrsten Sinema opposes.
Yeah, which will probably not happen because of her.
Right. There seems to be like a clear disconnect between legislation being proposed and like actual public opinion about it.
Yeah.
At least according to this poll. But other polling has found a little bit of different results. So a poll from the Morning Consult reports that 77% of Democrats, 52% of independents, and 37% of Republicans back the package. And that's talking about just the regular infrastructure deal.
That's a large majority.
Which is a large majority of support.
It's almost like that's not being represented in the Senate, in our representative democracy, our republic, if you will.
Yeah, you would. That is the line of thinking that, one rational being might go down.
Wow.
The Hill found back in September that 56% of registered voters support the plan, with the support breakdown being along party lines, of course. So just a general 56% support the plans. And then a poll from Quinnipiac found that 57% of the country supports the reconciliation bill.
Wow.
Yeah. So like these plans have large support, but it seems like people don't actually think it's going to help them.
Yeah.
Which is just like confidence in government and actual political leadership has severely eroded, and I can't blame them.
And it's just the breakdown of politics into parties.
Yeah.
Not ideological stances, it's party stances.
Yeah. The same Quinnipiac poll, where 57% of the country supports the reconciliation bill, also found that 46% of Americans said that they would rather have the Republican Party in control of the House.
Bro, why?
I don't know.
It's because, you know what it is? It's their fucking government class. It's the fucking stupid shit pushed in their high school government class about checks and balances and how we need a split government because that's more democratic. We have checks and balances. The Republicans need to check what the Democrats are doing to make sure that their proposals aren't too radical. You're getting in the way of helping people.
I think it's that. And I also think some of it is that so much of the focus has been on how Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are stopping the entire process, which is true.
Yeah.
But also, not a single Republican will vote for either of these plans. Some Republicans voted in the Senate for the infrastructure deal, but not a single will actually vote for the reconciliation bill, which we've said is the thing that's actually going to help you.
It's the same thing that happened with the third stimulus package.
Yeah.
The one under Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Not a single Republican voted for it.
And then they said, don't worry, $2,000 checks are coming to your doors thanks to the Senate.
Got it. Yeah.
was like Chuck Grassley, I think, was the one who said, like, don't worry, Iowans, money is coming, even though he voted no.
Bro doesn't know what's going on. He probably thinks he voted yes.
Bro's actually a pile of bones.
Thinks he voted yes. He's just there.
Yeah, and side note, it's funny how Republican voters don't like these bills. Like, there's still like a % of the Republican Party that don't like this legislation, even though the programs for the poor will be most effective in their states.
Yeah.
Like
No,
in
literally.
Republican dominated, like a state like West Virginia, which is Republican dominated, or like, I don't know, Texas, which is Republican dominated
benefit
only because of
hugely.
gerrymandering, but still.
Yeah. They'd benefit hugely from childcare.
Right.
They'd benefit hugely from the opportunity to get a free associate's degree.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
like in orders of magnitude, it would help them more than a lot of like blue states that
And also-
already offer a lot of public programs.
The free community college thing, that also extends to trade school, doesn't it? There's
I don't know, maybe.
trade
That'd be
school
cool.
provisions in there or some shit, or maybe
Yeah.
there was going to be, but that probably got gutted by now.
Yeah. So the polling seems to have identified a kind of a strange dynamic where people support the plans generally, but don't think it'll help them in a very substantive way, which is like, it's very
How?
strange times.
How?
I don't know.
How do you, the cognitive dissonance there, it's like, how does that happen? It's literally the breakdown into parties. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, like, a lot of people talk about polarization and how awful it is. When I really don't think that polarization is the core of the problem.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think that things are that polarized in the sense that people have competing ideologies. I think that the polarization is really just manufactured.
It's parties.
Right.
It's party polarization. It's not ideological polarization.
Right, exactly.
Because
Like-
you hear working class rhetoric on both sides.
Because just like the percentages I talked about, a lot of people like the infrastructure and reconciliation deal.
Yeah.
Like when it is explained to them and actually laid out and not just called like the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, when it's explained like child tax credit, free community college, provisions for climate change. Like people like those things.
Yeah.
Generally people think like, oh, well, you're going to help me get paid more. Like that's a good thing. Or you're
Oh,
going
I
to help
would
me
like
have more money
money
in my pocket at the end of the month. That's a good thing. But then all of this rhetoric comes in and the media does not help because it panders to people like Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
And then people stop supporting these plans or think that they're bad or like a socialist, like Democrats are like introducing socialist legislation. Like it's like everyone's mind is just fucking broken at this point.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Republicans called Joe Manchin a socialist a couple months ago. You know what I mean?
Probably.
Like, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did.
Yeah. Once again, we see that the Democratic Party is not nearly as popular as the policies it proposes. Like, I mean, we saw this dynamic in the 2020 election, how Joe Biden lost Florida, but a $15 wage passed with super majority support.
Yeah. I mean, the Democratic Party just fucking sucks, though. Like,
Yeah.
look at their figureheads, Joe Manchin. I mean, not Joe Manchin, Joe Biden.
No, Joe Manchin kind
Joe
of.
Manchin is a figurehead right now, like Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. He's fucking old. I'm sorry, but like...
Isn't it like half of all senators are like above 60? Or half of all people in Congress are above 60?
So, like, if you're old enough to have thrown rocks at the Little Rock Nine, you shouldn't be there.
Oh my God.
You should not be there.
If you're old enough to have protested against the civil rights movement,
Yeah.
and you did do so,
And you did, because Bernie Sanders is the only one that has pictures of him protesting in favor of civil rights. Get the fuck out.
Exactly. Like the Democratic, okay, I guess this isn't news, but like Democratic advertising and campaigning has always been bad. At least in our lifetime. It's never actually been effective. Like the Republican fear-mongering they do it a lot better, not because they're necessarily better at doing it, but because it's a lot easier.
So much easier.
It's so much easier to just like scare people into submission. But when it comes to these Democratic policies, like we can't agree on things as simple as like a $15 minimum wage, something that would actually improve people's lives.
Yeah.
And then that just causes a lot of people to tune out. Like I was listening to Chapo Trap House on the way over here. Had to get my talking points ready.
Naturally.
And they were talking about how when it comes to like liberal, moderate Democrats, a lot of them propose plans that are just like fucking insanely complex for no reason. Like tax deferred bank accounts. Like nobody knows what that means.
Means testing, but let's means test the means test. Let's get all this fucking stupid
Or
shit thrown
tax
into the bill.
advantage savings account
It's
set
all-
up for once you turn 75. Like,
It's all masturbatory.
right. None of it matters. None of it actually appeals to anybody that cares. It's all fluff to fill their resume whenever they like run for re-election again.
Yeah.
And people just immediately tune out because you're not talking about things that can actually substantially improve the material conditions that they're exposed
And
to.
they'll talk about shit in such an overly academic way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's always that I'm holier than thou.
Yeah, no dick jokes coming from Joe Biden.
When in reality, all of the politicians that like we elect or people that are just in Congress, like they know barely more than we do.
Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right. You're telling me that she got elected to serve Georgia in the House of Representatives, but she somehow knows more than us or is more equipped to deal with these issues?
Chuck Grassley doesn't know what he ate for breakfast.
Yeah, literally. Like Nancy Pelosi can't string together a coherent sentence.
Bro, Chuck Grassley can't remember to take his pills.
Exactly. Like, these people don't know anything. And it's not even just Democrats, but it's like the Republican Party too. Like, these people are so stupid.
Literally, dude, I forgot that Nancy Pelosi's like 80 years old.
Yeah.
Is he like 80 on the dot?
Yeah, something like that.
My God.
And like, I don't know, delivering for the working class, even in this very small way when it comes to the reconciliation package, I guess. It doesn't even seem like, according to this polling, that it's enough to win the next election.
It's not.
It's something that's very important. Like, it is, like, in terms of actually helping people before Republicans take control again, it is, like, vital. The Democrats have to do this or nothing's going to pass for the next 10 years, especially with gerrymandering. But it doesn't seem like the messaging is there and the confidence in the public eye is there to the point where actually passing legislation that helps people is even enough to win elections at this point.
Not at all.
And maybe it's been this way for as long as we've been alive, but like, it's just how it is.
You know what? Maybe would have helped. The $15 minimum wage.
Maybe.
But you know who stood in the way of that as well? Oh, big thumbs down.
For those listening to the audio version, I just did the Kirsten Cinema thumbs down and smile.
Right at the camera. Look right at the C-SPAN camera.
Yeah. These policies are wildly popular, but Congress, politicians, and the processes that are used to create them are not very popular. I think Congress usually has an approval rating of like 17%.
Rightfully
generally.
so. Rightfully so. They fucking suck.
Right. And it faintly reminds me of like all the defund the police rhetoric, how people would always like, oh, the name's really bad, like you need to change the name, it intimidates people, but then they would say the policy's good, but then do nothing to advocate for the policy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what these moderate Democrats are doing.
Like, it's a good name.
They're like, it's a good idea, but we shouldn't be doing this.
Literally what Obama did.
Yeah.
It's literally what Obama came on to do. He's like, well, I agree that we need to demilitarize and defang the police a little bit, but it's a little harsh. The movement's a little harsh.
Literally,
it makes white
shut
people
up.
feel bad.
I don't care.
I don't feel bad.
And this applies to like the reconciliation bill too, because when we're talking about like business owners, capitalists, it's always framed like, oh, this is going to hurt small businesses. No, I mean, even if it did, whatever, but it's not going to, because all of this legislation is aimed at attacking corporations and redistributing the wealth that they take from us to regular people.
Yes.
And small businesses, by and large, are not going to be hurt by that.
No.
But even if they were, delivering it for regular people, that's fucking fine.
Small businesses aren't really going to be hurt by a higher corporate tax rate.
No.
I'm sorry, they're not. Small business owners aren't really going to be hurt by increasing their income tax.
And even then, like, the corporate tax rate isn't really going to do that much to actually attack corporations because they'll find ways to dodge it anyway.
Yeah.
But like a progressive corporate tax rate's not going to do a ton. But going after wealthy people and the income that they make is going to do a ton because they have like infinite amounts of money.
Fantastic.
But like, even that, Joe Manchin says we shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Because we have to remain competitive.
Yeah.
Remember. And Kirsten Sinema said, not at all. We will not do it at all.
Yeah, not even a little bit.
Not even a small marginal increase. Nothing at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if I saw over the next few weeks, or even just like this week, the reconciliation bill is announced to become smaller. Especially because, like we talked about last week, Joe Biden had said that progressives should start expecting a smaller package. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of it all, we saw a package that was on par with just the regular infrastructure deal.
Or just the regular infrastructure deal.
Right, yeah.
With maybe some childcare thrown in there, but probably not.
Yeah, like it's gonna be small either way. And it's the dynamic, like I mentioned earlier with the port workers, where politicians are being demanded that they do something. Right, the ones that actually listen to their voters, which isn't many of them, but ones that, or at least in general, the public is demanding that the government does something. But while they have to appear neutral for the public so that they can attempt to, get reelected in the next election, they also have to protect capital.
Yeah. Because
that is what the state functions to do.
Naturally.
And,
what it was built to do.
Yeah. And, after the section, you may be feeling kind of bad. You may be feeling a little bit sad. But just remember that workers around the country are rising up against this kind of dynamic and demanding more and better working conditions.
Strikes are successful right now.
Yeah. And ultimately, it's a good thing. Like, not everything is doom and gloom.
Facts.
Don't trust your politicians. Still vote, though.
Still vote, damage control a little bit.
Don't take Donald Trump's advice. Still vote.
Unless you're a Republican.
Yeah, and you know what? Together, on the Head in the Office podcast, we can work towards a better world.
Exactly.
How about that? How's that for a sales pitch?
That's a good pitch. And on that note, Good episode, everybody.
Good episode. Yeah, you know, we thank you for listening.
Yeah.
We hope you have a great rest of your week whenever you're listening to this. We hope you can resist capitalism along with us.
Yeah, come on.
We hope that you can radicalize some friends with the knowledge that we have bestowed upon to you.
Exactly. Freely take some of my talking points. It's an open IP.
Yeah, exactly. You can clip us, post us, just tag us in it, whatever you want to do.
Post us, tag your uncle in it, tag your racist stepdad in it,
Exactly.
do something.
Or you can like clip up all like the suspicious things that Gage just said and just cancel them.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Hold on a second now. Clip up on my dick jokes.
Exactly. Before we go, we got to send a special thanks to the people that support us on Patreon.
Special.
So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Kaden Croft, Terrence Nicholson, Chris the Postman, Luke Harris, Christy Beck, and my mom for supporting the show on Patreon. If you, dear listener, want to be shouted out among this elite crew, you just got to go to Patreon. Check us out.
It's simple.
And you'll also get the episodes early. You can watch the full video version of this whenever we put it up. It's a win-win for everybody, in my opinion.
Get a little bit more relevant news, even though somehow we still miss stuff that happens earlier in the week, you know.
And you can be sure that even though your politicians may be accepting $400,000 from coal and gas, we won't be.
Yeah, we
only accept grassroots funds. That is so you know your money is being well spent when it goes directly into the pod.
Exactly.
Because we're just using it to further radicalize other people.
And on that note, have a great week, everybody.
All right, y'all.